Hi, I'm Gordon James, and this is Grey's Anatomy Post-Op. Throughout this series, we've taken a look at some of our favorite moments of Grey's Anatomy past. Today, not only do we get to celebrate the past, but we hopefully will get some insight into the future as well. Joining me to discuss Grey's origins, as well as tomorrow night's 300th episode, is head writer, executive producer, and co-showrunner, Krista Vernoff. Hi, Krista. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Gordon. Thanks for having me.
I am so sure that saying that you're busy is an understatement at this point, so thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. So what brought you to Grey's?
I had been writing television for about 7 years, I think, and it was staffing season. So Shonda brought me in for a staffing meeting, and I was sitting out in the lobby talking to Stacey McKee, who's now the showrunner on the new spinoff. And we started talking about American Idol. And I hear from inside the office, "Do not talk about American Idol without me." Shonda. So she came running out and pulled me in, and our whole interview was just a debate about Kelly Clarkson versus Tamira, and then she hired me.
You knew Shonda from before she was Shonda.
I did, yeah. She was, as we all are when we're making our first anything, sort of terrified and bewildered, and it's been amazing to watch her, her becoming, as it were.
And so you delved in and wrote several key episodes. In the first season, you wrote the episode that everybody knows is the giant tumor episode.
Good morning, Annie. How are you? This is Dr. Bailey, and these are my fellow interns.
Dr. Karev, we refer to patients as Mr.
I told him to call me Annie. Miss Connors makes me feel old and fat, which I am, but why feel that way?
What was that like? Did you already have all of that set out?
I think that that's how I ended up becoming Shonda's head writer. And the key to being successful in television as a television writer working for someone else is the ability to voice match. So my voice naturally matched Shonda's. And that's what I remember, is that when I wrote that script, she recognized that.
Are you really as shallow and callous as you seem?
Oh, you want to go out for a drink later and hear about my secret pain?
Does that line ever work for you?
Sometimes.
I think it's the first time also that I wrote the word seriously onto the show.
You basically changed the vernacular of America with that, because everybody says
Well,
seriously.
I mean, I started, but Shonda took it home because it made her crazy when I said it in the writer's room all the time. She had just peppered it into a script like 15 times.
You seriously think this is a good idea?
I seriously think this is a way cooler surgery.
Okay, seriously weird, seriously misguided.
It's like, seriously, you're an intern, but it's seriously true. Seriously.
She has a way of turning things up to 11.
So another episode that you were nominated for an Emmy on was Into Like a Train.
Yeah.
What was interesting about that for anybody who was living under a rock and didn't see it?
Well, we wanted to do a train wreck. Somebody had the idea that two people should be stuck together on a pole.
Is this the craziest thing you've ever seen? Yeah.
What I love about that episode, and I've been referencing it a lot this year as we work to claim a new, lighter comic tone in season 14, is that we're dealing with really heavy stuff, but the hour is largely comedy.
Do we have a problem, Yang?
Yes. No, sir. I'm thrilled to learn, and I'm grateful to be here. It's just that, sorry, his legs.
What about them?
They're both left.
And it doesn't make you cry until it makes you cry. That keeps you laughing until you're crying. And that is what I came in and said to the writers this year. I don't want to just be crying the whole hour.
And you did it again later on with a more personal episode when we dealt with George's father dying.
Yeah.
You had scenes like the brother having his flatulent episodes that just relieved the tension. So
Yes.
we really didn't, I feel like we really didn't cry till we were supposed to
Till
cry.
you were sobbing. I can tell you that that's the most personal episode to me because I wrote it about my own father's death and I told the story very close to what I went through. That flatulence scene happened in my life,
No.
and that is why it was my uncle who's now passed on too. But what I know is that week I cried harder than I've ever cried, and I laughed harder than I've ever laughed. I waited. It had been a few years since my dad died before I tried to write about it.
Was it cathartic for you in any way, or was
Oh,
it?
totally. It was really cathartic. That show contains my favorite line that I've ever written for Grey's Anatomy,
Which is,
which
everybody
is
listening?
I don't know how to live in a world where my dad doesn't.
Yeah, thanks. I was crying on that one. Thank you for bringing it back
Yeah.
up again. So let's move on to something
Yes.
happier. When we're all distraught and going through the grieving process of George, you take us in one episode through the 30 days
Yeah.
after George's death. What was the process like, if you remember?
Shonda Rhimes made the decision to hit George with a bus. And I said, please just he signed up for the Army. That is sad and scary enough. Please don't hit him with the bus. But Shonda wrote it, and then we sat in the room and we watched it together. And when Meredith put together that it was George, I stood up and shouted and burst into tears. I knew it was coming, and it was devastating. And so then I was tasked with, how do we come back from this? This show, I think, gives people a lot of opportunity to grieve, and a lot of really beloved characters have died, and by grieving fictional characters, maybe it gives us a little more vulnerability, a little more access to our own grief in real life, and a little more permission to feel it.
You guys always touch on real life situations. When you get to an episode, for example, the one where they had the college shooting.
Dr. Yang, can you tell me what your patient was wearing or where his clothes are?
They were cut off at the seam. It was a green hoodie, jeans.
Is he a redhead about 20?
Yes. Chief, what's going on?
The patient's a shooter.
What I love about the writing on Grey's is you get this 360-degree look at each situation, each character. Is that intentional? Is that something everybody discusses in the writer's room?
We didn't really tell the shooter's side of that story, but we focused a little bit on his mom.
They found a suicide note in his jeans. And I didn't know anything. My whole life. Everything I ever knew is a lie. All these people he hurt. Does that make me a terrible person?
I watch these things in the news and I think, oh my God, somebody raised that boy. And mental illness is real, and sometimes parents can't control it. That was a complicated episode to write.
And it was also your last episode that you wrote, correct?
It was my last episode before I left. But I didn't watch the show for very long after I left because it made me sad, like there was a party going on without me.
So you didn't follow anything? So you
I'd watched through the death of Mark and Lexi, and I sat at home crying like the fans. I mean, I was mad. The one where I wrote to Shonda and I said, bravo, was when Christina's last episode. I saw on Twitter that it was her last day, and I was like, I gotta go.
And how was that experience for you?
Oh, it was, she's amazing, and she was amazing to write for, and it was one of the great, great privileges of my career.
You are a gifted surgeon with an extraordinary mind. Don't let what he wants eclipse what you need. He's very dreamy, but he is not the son. You are.
What can we expect about the 300th episode?
I can tell you, I created it a little bit as an Easter egg hunt for fans who've been watching for 14 years. So you're gonna see people you haven't seen in a long time, and I'll never tell you, you're gonna hear it.
What if I, for the fans, mention a few characters, you just get one word to describe what their arc will be like?
Okay, let's do it.
Meredith.
Medical superhero.
Okay. Bailey.
Bailey brings the drama.
Dr. Weber.
Brings the funny.
All right.
All right.
I'm satisfied with that.
Okay.
I think they'll be satisfied with that. Thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on all of these years of bringing us Grey's Anatomy.
Thank
you. We totally appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate everybody watching the show and continuing to support it. And I'm really grateful to Shonda for the experience, and to Ellen and Jim and Justin and Chandra for staying all these years. I'm running around set like it's season 2, and Ellen's like, you are too perky for season 14. She's like, you had a 7-year break, settle down. But I'm really happy to be back.
We're glad you're back.
Thank you.
Thank you. To help prep for tomorrow night's 300th episode, go to abc.com and check out the Love Grey's Hub for more throwback moments. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me. It's been a pleasure to me to be your guide down memory lane. And you know I wouldn't leave you hanging without a little something. So enjoy this exclusive peek at tomorrow's 300th episode, written by this fabulous lady of Grey's Anatomy. Bye, y'all.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I left some things here, and I thought that you were at the hospital.
It's no problem, Dr. Shepard. I'll just go put some panties on.
Probably a good idea. Yeah. See.
Yeah, I should probably give you these keys back, huh?
Catch every season of Grey's Anatomy, currently available on iTunes.